So the goal for this meeting is twofold. The more proximal, selfish goal is I do need your advice on how to handle the matter of plagiarism and generative AI in Xculture immediately this semester. So what would be the best way to basically receive students' submissions? And you all are Xculture professors, you all sort of know how the system works, and hopefully together we can decide on the best logistical sort of solution. But then the second and perhaps a bigger and more important goal is just to discuss the changes in academia brought about by the rise of generative AI. So it's a different world now than it was even half a year ago. And so Xculture will survive. We'll figure out a way to manage things so it's not a huge problem for us. It's more of a choice rather than a problem. So, but for academia as a whole, that's an interesting, important question. And maybe with your permission, I will start with a little sort of overview of the developments that led to this specific situation, so that you know the context. But then also, likewise, as I share these developments with you, hopefully it will help you better, help me figure out the situation at Xculture. So we have two seemingly unrelated, but in reality very closely related, both developments, issues, questions in academia in general and in Xculture in particular. One is plagiarism, and the other one is what many people call ChatGPT. I guess a proper name would be generative AI, because ChatGPT is one of many such tools, not the only one, and there is really no ChatGPT anymore. Even GPT's one is called GPT-4 Turbo. So, but I'll be using sometimes the expression ChatGPT just so that people kind of know what that is. So anyway, plagiarism. As you know, we have been using Turnitin for many years, more or less from the very beginning in 2010 when we launched Xculture. We used it to receive students' work, and we would automatically check every submission for plagiarism. I will be honest with you that originally I started using it not to check for plagiarism, but simply to be able to receive submissions from students around the world. Because at that time we did not have Dropbox, Google Docs, we didn't have tools like that. And so the problem was, how do you receive submissions from hundreds of teams otherwise? And I think the very first time when we did it, we actually used email submissions, attachments. That didn't work very well. Email attachments are hard to deal with. Some attachments were too large for an email, and students would bombard me with questions that they cannot submit their work. Very messy. And I think from semester 2, we started looking for a solution. And luckily, one of the universities, I will not name it here, but it's not my university. It's a university from a different continent. They believed in Xculture. They felt they need to support Xculture. And so they created an account for me, a separate account. It's called, I think, FTS or something like that. Or TFS, Turnitin something Studio. So basically they have accounts that integrate with your Blackboard and Canvas, and they have separate accounts that operate independently. And so they created one of those accounts for me. And so it allowed me to receive submissions from students all around the world, because at that time we used Blackboard, and then later we used Canvas, which also has plagiarism check embedded in it. But it would only allow me to receive submissions from students enrolled in my course at UNCG, so that didn't work. But then the added benefit of using Turnitin was not only that it's convenient to receive submissions, but it also checks for plagiarism. And as you know, all these years, I've been sending you the statistics on plagiarism for the teams, for each team, for your students. And plus it allowed us to sort of prompt students to be careful with plagiarism. So knowing that we will check for plagiarism and being able to check themselves a week in advance before the final deadline, the students sort of learned about this important issue. They knew it's you know, we take it seriously. So it was something of a learning moment for the students as well. So all good so far, other than we had, again, many of you probably don't know that, but Turnitin is a notoriously clunky system. So every time we receive submissions from students, I cannot just click and download them. It crashes every time when I try to download more than like 50 submissions at a time. And since we have about 1,000, so the deadline is always on Friday, and on Saturday, I spent almost the entire day clicking like 50, 50, 50, generate, download. It takes like 10 minutes to generate the zip file. Then it downloads for like half an hour for some reason, very slowly. So it took me like essentially the whole day just to get those files before you see them. Not to mention I had to rename them because Turnitin changes the name to something like some random sequence of letters and numbers. So not the most user-friendly system in that respect. But, again, it kind of worked. Now, the problems started a few weeks ago. I received an email from Turnitin saying that they were conducting routine checks of accounts or reviews of accounts, and they spotted that my account behaves strangely in that I have students registered in my course from different universities, which normally shouldn't happen because normally it should be only my students. And I even sent them an explanation saying that, well, it's ex-culture, yes, students are from all around the world, but I didn't really, pay much attention to it until I started getting the same emails last week from my own university. They said, we see you have like 64 students from different universities in your course. Can you please delete it? And so again, first I didn't connect the two, and I responded to my university's inquiry somewhat maybe, unnecessarily, aggressively saying, that's not a UNCG account. Leave me alone. So it's a separate private account, so not your business. But I suppose because I am affiliated with the university, they may have, assumed that somehow I'm related. And I think they probably were contacted by Turnitin as well, and that's why they made the connection. So, but in any case, I sort of also dismissed it, but then like the next day, my account stopped working, so I cannot log in. So I'm like, okay, well, what do we do now? So my first concern was that we have in a week, the teams will start submitting drafts, and then a week later, the final reports, and I may not be able to receive them because my account is blocked. So luckily, I have some friends, senior positions in Turnitin, so I contacted one of them immediately just to ask what's going on. And he shared with me, and that's where AI comes into place. He said, well, the truth is that once generative AI came about, catching plagiarism became essentially impossible. So we can still catch plagiarism where students literally copy-paste, copy and exactly same text pasted into the file. That we can catch. But ChatGPT makes it very easy to rephrase the text. So you can literally say, here is the file, rewrite the whole thing just using different words. And so again, if you give that prompt, sometimes it gives you the language that sounds more like, like Shakespeare wrote it as opposed to a student. But, students are smart, so they quickly figured out that if you say, rewrite it in different words, use the style of a second-year-old business student for whom English is not his native language, then it will write it in simple, sometimes with occasional errors, and in very different words. And once that is done, Turnitin cannot catch that plagiarism. It just simply doesn't see the similarity. So absolutely easy to avoid. And we actually did conduct surveys of students for the past 2 semesters asking how they use AI and if they use AI for a study, not for this specific case. And most of them used last semester, almost all of them used it. And they know that it can check your grammar. They know that it can rephrase. So even if some students still have not figured out how to evade plagiarism detection, by this semester, I'm sure everybody will. And by next, for sure, definitely. So, but then that friend shared with me another interesting bit of information. He said that because generative AI makes plagiarism detection essentially dead, many subscribers, Turnitin subscribers, started canceling their subscriptions. It's a quite expensive subscription, but why do you need it when students can so easily evade detection? And so that's why Turnitin started losing money, started looking for ways to cut cost. And so that's why they're reviewing the accounts. And apparently there are many people who use their accounts in dishonest ways, such as sell access to their account to others, like for example, to students. They say like for $5, I will check your work for plagiarism. You will get the report so you can change the parts that are flagged as plagiarized so that you can fix the problem before you submit it to your professor. And so apparently that's when you would see normally, submissions from other universities. And that's what my account looked like. So I think that's why Turnitin was sort of asking questions. Obviously, we use it honestly in a very different way, but visually it looks like that. And so Turnitin now is trying to do something about it. By the way, another thing they were trying and hoping to do, they were hoping to find ways before generative AI to authenticate authorship. So yes, they could check and catch when people copy paste text. But what some students did was they would hire other people to write papers for them. So ghostwriters. So they would hire someone else, pay them, and they would write your paper. And then it's not plagiarized per se, not copy pasted, but it's not your paper. And so Turnitin was working on an algorithm that would look at your student submissions that you have, and then a submission in question, and it would check and give you the probability that the paper was written by the same person. So it wouldn't catch plagiarism. It would try to catch if it was the same person who wrote it. And so when generative AI came about, they thought they can use the same algorithm to sort of identify if the paper was written by AI. And there was even time, I think they still provide that statistics, they still give you the probability that it was written by generative AI. And then, as many of you know, there are like 20, 30 tools by now that presumably claim that they can catch if it was written by AI. I tested at least 20 of those. They don't work. They don't work. Many professors started coming to me last year saying that we need to do something about generative AI. We need to maybe either make students sign a contract that they will not use it. We need to ban it. We need to use those tools. And if students use generative AI, we need to punish them for that. And the truth is that no, there are no tools that can detect if it was written by a human or by AI. And even if at some point it may have worked, a few weeks later, AI develops, it doesn't work anymore. Again, if we found something that works today, this very minute, there is no way of knowing if it will work in a week from now. So the truth is, no, we cannot catch, we cannot detect reliably if the file was written by generative AI. We had a bunch of meetings over the summer and then in the fall with professors discussing what to do with generative AI. A separate story not related to plagiarism and not related to Xculture's Turnitin account. And we had some professors who, I would say naively, were demanding that we, ban it and that we, try to police it. But again, we cannot do it. But then there were some other professors who said, no, maybe we shouldn't ban it. Maybe we should encourage it. Maybe we should teach our students how to use ChatGPT, both how to use it effectively, but also how to use it responsibly and ethically. Because there are many uses that you can use generative AI ethically. Like, for example, again, asking it to check your grammar and punctuation. No problem with that. Many professors, you probably too, pay professional copy editors to check the grammar in your papers before you send it to a journal. Nobody says that's plagiarism. Nobody says that that's dishonest. Many universities even pay you, give you the money to hire professional copy editors so that they check grammar in your work. That's not a problem. Many of you use Grammarly or spell check embedded in Microsoft Word. It does correct your punctuation and grammar, spelling errors. Nobody says that it's cheating. So you just use your account, you just use external help to correct your grammar. You learn from it, you make the paper look better. I, as a professor, do not have to suffer reading through your poor language. I, as a project administrator, do not have to be embarrassed in front of our customers who have reports that they cannot read. So I wouldn't mind if student used ChatGPT to check grammar, punctuation, spelling, and made it a little bit more brushed up before they submit it. Likewise, there is nothing wrong with using ChatGPT, for example, for feedback. It's pretty good at reading your file and giving you feedback and suggestions for how to improve it. Your literature review is too weak. You missed some references. You have some repetitions or duplication, redundancies in your arguments. Very useful. I encourage my students to show their work to students, to parents, to friends, get feedback, and then use it to improve their work. That's very honest. Obviously, if you ask ChatGPT to write your file from scratch, that's bad. That's wrong. But again, there are some good uses for ChatGPT, and there is really nothing wrong to use it as an assistant, as a copy editor, as a secretary. Why not? But in any case, so now we are at the point where we have the following situation. One, my account has been reinstated. I can still use Turnitin, and I think I can keep it, and we can still receive submissions from this semester's students. I'm a little worried about that option because what if they block me again, like a day before the deadline or a day after deadline? So what do we then do if I cannot access those files? We did find ways to receive files in other ways. Qualtrics, Dropbox, Google Docs, all of them allow me to receive student submissions. They drag and drop the file, keep the name. I can add a form where they provide the name and the team number. So simply receiving the files is not a problem. Likewise, I can receive them through one tool, but then I can upload them to turn it in and still check for plagiarism. Not every student submits it individually, but I upload it as a bulk and then get the statistics. That's not a problem either. And if any of them are plagiarized, sort of the old way, the dumb way, copy paste and copy and paste, I can still catch it and I can still send you those statistics. So that's also an option. But so my bigger question perhaps is, what do we do with all of this in general? So do we still check for copy pasted plagiarism? Do we still tell students that we check for it? Do we still talk about the importance? I suppose we do. Do we admit to students that really we cannot check for it? Because again, make no mistake, we cannot check for plagiarism anymore. As long as the student is smart enough to paraphrase using ChatGPT, and almost all of them already are, we can't. And so we can admit it honestly and say, yeah, I guess we, unless you make the mistake of just copy pasting without paraphrasing, but otherwise we cannot check it. Second, what do we do with generative AI? Again, do we provide training on how to use it effectively and ethically and encourage students to use it? Do we just not talk about it? Or do we pretend that we can catch it and try to ban it? So that's another big important question. So I'm not sure about that. And then obviously some students definitely use it. In fact, most use it, but some don't know how to use it, don't have the subscription, don't know how to access it. And if anything, it actually creates, inequality. Some have this powerful tool, others don't. And so perhaps maybe we can equalize it, not by forcing those who use it not to use it, but rather teaching those who don't use it how to use it. So bring it up. So just like, in math classes, statistics classes, we use software, we use calculators. So nobody forces you to write your papers by hand anymore. Everybody can use computers. Well, this tool is here to stay. Maybe we should embrace it and teach our students how to use it. So I'll stop here. You have the context. I'm curious to hear what you think about it. What are your thoughts? And more importantly, what are your proposals for X-Culture, but also maybe for the larger academic community?
Vas, can I go?
Yeah, please, please.
Thank you very much for this invitation. This is a really important topic. I'm not sure if you had the chance to see the publication I published on IB Insights about the use of generative AI in international business. And then I have another one coming about how to use about the use of generative AI. The first one is IB education. The second one is IB research. And here is my take, on this topic. This is a very important topic, and the battle is still going on between, plagiarism and academic integrity in general, and detection. I mean, the existing softwares, they are nowhere near the speed by which generative AI keep developing. For example, in ChatGPT, we are in the fourth generation, and it's really more sophisticated than the previous one. So, companies are trying to catch up, but it's way too far. But there are few. I mean, you're not going to get a perfect detection, but you can get some really minimal detection by using different applications like GPT-0 or CopyLeaks or CrossPlag or so there are others, but they're not going to give you a perfect score, but at least would
they give you a probability, right?
There is something wrong with this paper. But here is the solution I suggest, and I suggested on my papers, is that honestly, it's time for academia to start thinking that they have to change the way they test students. The traditional, I call them traditional way, although they are still ongoing, they are no longer working. For example, at St. Louis U, I changed the way I test my students in all the projects, including simulation. For example, I have a simulation where students do and they provide reports, but at the end of the day, I have them meet with me out every single week, without paper, without anything. I ask them questions and they have to answer. And during those moments, those who are not, here is the deal though. if they use ChatGPT to write their essay, but then they come to present it to me without paper, without anything, and they become fluent, where it's honestly, as a professor, I'm happy with that. They learn something, and they are right now articulating what they learn. Yes, of course, but I don't give so much credit, in terms of grading. I don't give so much grade into written essays anymore, because I know students, they might use technology. Sometimes what I do in the class, even online, another test I gave like a few weeks ago to my students, I told them, here is the topic. Go ahead and ask ChatGPT to write you in 20 words. What is the definition of this, of this, of this? And then after that, close your computer, after learning, copy and paste it, and source it as a ChatGPT, and then write down your essay right now in front of me. And then when you finish, give me a presentation about what you just did. It just, there are so many. Oh, by the way, I should admit, this will not work in every single classroom. This will not work in every single topic. So I'm just talking from my own perspective. Honestly, I totally changed, and honestly, it works, because I have no problem with my students using ChatGPT or any generative AI, for example, Google Gemini. I mean, they can use this, but as long as we change the way we provide grading and evaluation. It has to change, in my point of view. For X culture, honestly, it's a very applied project. I love it. I call it simulation. I apologize if this is not the term you like to use. But then at the end of the day, even when I did X culture, I have my students, by the way, present their project to the whole class. And frankly, I even bring outsiders to sit down and ask my students questions to make sure whatever they did, it's researchable. They use generative AI to write something. I am fine with it as long as they can justify, their answers. And hey, I have students got F on my simulation. F. Why is that? Because I detected that they didn't write anything they assume, they wrote, because they couldn't answer any question. I told them, well, this is written in your paper and you don't know the answer. This is just an example. I give them F on the presentation, which has a huge percentage, of the grade.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So, any other comments?
That's
Yeah, Mark, hi, good to see you.
good morning. Before I share my take, I have one question. How do the recipients of the reports, the various organizations that as culture serve, respond to the threat of or the opportunity of ChatGPT and generative AI? Because at the end of the day, we're all working for them.
Yeah, so I actually had discussions with a few of them, and they said, I want the best possible solution, the best possible idea. I don't care how you wrote it. I don't care what help you used. If you talk to your parents, if you use AI, if you hired a professional consulting company to do it for you, I don't care if you learned anything in the process. Give me the best possible solution. And I'm actually with them on that. I mean, again, so why do they need to suffer through poor writing when GPT can polish it? Why would it be a problem if you ask GPT, find me the competitors to, this company, and it gives you the list? Obviously, you want to check it. But I mean, there is no problem. Professional consultants use junior partners or junior, interns who help you. That's just another helper. So they don't really care about this academic part. And again, going into the issue of, well, how will the students learn? I posted something about that, and somebody said, well, here comes the dumbing down of America. I sarcastically responded, first, ChatGPT is available in all countries, not only in the United States. But then second, really dumbing down? Like, so when we invented calculators, many people were saying, oh, that's dumbing down. Now our kids will not be able to multiply in their head. Stata, SPSS, does it make it, do they make us dumb? You probably still remember the times when you had to calculate correlation by hand. Now the software does it for you, but does it really make us dumb, or does it make us more productive? I still remember the time when I was not allowed to use computers to type my term papers for university. I had to write them by hand, because apparently at that time they thought that calligraphy is important. And so you will lose this important skill if you all of a sudden have a typewriter or a computer. I mean, so outdated. I even remember the time when I was not allowed to use at school a ball pen, ballpoint pen. We had to use like the ink fountain pen. presumably because it teaches you better how to, write correctly. So stupid. Same thing here. Will it make us dumb, or will it make us more productive? So I don't know. Should we ban
Okay.
it, or should we teach students how to use it to their advantage? So the clients
So-
don't get to care.
So let me now give my take. And all customers are basically utilitarian. They're interested in ends, not means. And so unless there's a legal risk, I would say this is an opportunity to teach a skill that will be valued in the market, and that is how to leverage generative AI in all its forms.
By the way, there was an interesting report the other day about the job openings in the United States. And so people, AI related, so it's not using ChatGPT, I guess it's more creating ChatGPT. But apparently the number of job listings is like 25 times as many as the number of job applicants. So the demand is huge. And so maybe we should teach our students how to use it effectively so that they are more advantaged when they apply for jobs.
Did you hear about what happened to Air Canada recently?
No, which part?
No, their chatbot, the chatbot on their website.
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah,
tickets,
gave misleading information
and that
yeah.
must be one of the most important lessons when we and when we teach our students how to use AI. I always, like, for example, I always or often ask ChatGPT, suggest some studies on the topic, suggest some theories that can justify this argument.
Yeah.
But you always check. So now it's pretty accurate, but sometimes it still gives you inaccurate information. So treat it as you would treat a graduate assistant. Humans make mistakes. AI makes mistakes too. I see Astrid. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
So that was my strategic suggestion: is go for it, be all in, because what students will learn by using Gen AI will be something that will be valued in the marketplace, in the job marketplace. Now, tactically, I have to say that we have to remember the parable of the mouse and the mousetrap. So you should never check something submitted immediately, because the detection tools always lag a few months behind. So if you want to catch effectively poorly documents where generative AI was poorly used, so the student not doing a once-over on whatever was generated, just wait a couple of months, and the probability that it was generated will be much more reliable, because the detection tools have to learn from the previous generation, and we're in a permanent beta mode. So if they use a version that's 2 days old, it might take 2 months or 3 months for the detection tool to actually grasp that that's what's happening. That's always what I do. So you can announce at the beginning of your term or semester that you will be detecting use of generative AI if it's against university policy, but you won't be doing it immediately. So you might be in a situation where you get a grade, and then before the exam board at the end of the academic year approves it completely, it might be canceled by late detection of whatever work was submitted.
Astrid, we'll get to you in a second. Mark, let me counter your point here, and everyone. Okay, let's say in 5 months or in 5 weeks, we are able to check reliably 100% accuracy if something was written by AI. My question is that a sin? Is that a problem? So if somebody wrote text, like ideas, their own ideas, wrote it in poor English, and then said to AI, here is my text, my ideas, my content, rewrite it in proper English so it's easy to read, simple to understand. And so AI rewrites it. And so now it's been written by AI. But is that a problem? Is that a sin? I mean, like, maybe not a single word stayed from the original file, but all of the ideas were by the author. So can we then say, oh, you're disqualified because you used AI to rephrase the text? I mean, would that be a problem?
Well, it might not be a problem in your class, but if your university has a problem with that, it is a problem.
Well, if it's
you have to be compliant with your campus rules. That's all I'm saying. So
Well, again, so let's think about it. So, okay, well, for some classes, like if you take English writing class, I mean, obviously they teach you how to write. So AI, writing your, poetry or your essays is not good for that course. But if the course is management or statistics, and you use AI to turn your ideas into a polished text writing, is that even something that we, that's, I don't know. I'm not sure if I
I don't
if
know.
I
I
would
mean,
trust
I mean, obviously, it really depends if your university or school policy allows the use of generative AI in management classes or IB classes. That's fine. But if I mean, you've seen what the scientific publishers have done. They now ask you to certify you haven't used generative AI in your submissions. So we're not. Some universities might have a more stringent policy. So I'm just saying that, of course, if it's a toothless policy, so be it. If there's no chance of getting caught, all the same, we are training young adults, and we have to teach them responsibility. You mentioned using Gen AI responsibly. So honor systems work better than mechanized solutions anyway, in my perspective.
I see a few hands up. So if that's on the issue of,
Yeah, I've said my piece.
Yep. Go ahead, whoever's ready next. Astrid, you had a whole different topic, right, that you wanted to discuss?
No, it was tied to this. It ties to what
Okay.
Ben and Mark said. And thank you for having this. I appreciate it, Buzz. A couple of things I think, and Mark mentioned it, depending on different professors, right? Our universities have different policies, and we might have different policies in our course. For me, I allow ChatGPT, but they have to tell me how they used it it has to be part of the citations, and they actually have to do a write-up as to how they used it, how it helped, and kind of what they learned. So for me, I feel like this could be a benefit for X culture if we have a training that says, how do you use this ethically? What are the pitfalls? How do you put good inputs to get good outputs? And what happens when it can go wrong? And so in some ways, I feel like there's a skill development, but I also know from my campus, not all faculty members feel that way, which I absolutely respect as well. So I think it's, what if a professor has a different policy in their course where X culture is, and now with X culture, you say you can use, generative AI. It's not an issue for me, but I know maybe some folks that are involved, it may be an issue. So, for me, I would say, I think having an ethical training benefits X culture. I say it's skill development, but I also would like to see it. They have to cite it, and they have to submit a document stating how, if they use generative AI, how they used it, because I think we will learn from that as well. So that was just my thoughts.
Yeah. I will just add to that. I once went to Google Scholar and searched for text as a generative AI language model. I cannot. So basically this quote, and there are hundreds of papers on Google Scholar that contain that exact text. And you look at the paper, so what you see is that the scholars, professors, not students, used ChatGPT to write their sections, and they didn't even read it. So they literally copy pasted the whole thing, including the language where ChatGPT tells them that I cannot do this, but here is what I can do. And so that's obviously embarrassing. I mean, so, one thing when you use it to help you, another thing when you use it and you don't even read what it gave you, you just copy paste it into the paper. So I will not be surprised if we start seeing something like that from our students as well. I see Sue and Antonius, you raise your hands.
Can I go first, or because I think Antonius raised his hand first, so so my name is Sujin, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. I joined this university last year, and I worked with X Culture twice with this university, and before I was working in at Tec de Monterrey in Mexico. and I also taught students with X culture. The reason why I joined this, by the way, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was very timely. I just had a conversation with some of the students who were involved in X culture, and they were raising concerns about their teammates using generative AI and just copy and pasting it. So I think the main issue is not only about whether they're using it or not per se, but it's the students themselves are struggling also to motivate other people to actually work. So they were kind of like venting out some of their frustrations about, oh yeah, I have like 5 teammates in my team. One of them does not respond, ghosting. I have 3 other members. They're just copy and pasting it from AI. I can just tell it, but if I ask them if they did it or not, they're just not saying it. So I actually told them, because I do have a session that I talked to the students about their experience, and I told them about Turnitin. And then I received that email and told them, like, we are actually detecting some of the plagiarism, and you will eventually have the chance to see some of the points that are highlighted. I personally think that it is important for us to have at least a one tool to detect the similarity, even if it's a similarity, because the students who are just using ChatGPT or other generative AI, they're just using it because they just want to get away with it. So usually they would just copy and paste. And just for the fact that we are actually detecting those kind of behaviors is actually giving them some sort of like warning sign or motivation not to do it. And at the same time, I also believe that it is important for us, like it would be beneficial for all of us, including the professors and the students, to discuss the ethical way of using generative AI, so that you have those students who are really afraid of being punished and end up submitting a very poor quality report. So they're very hesitant to use AI, and at the same time struggling within the team, not making them use it or like make them work, versus other students who are just like copy and pasting it. So I think it is important for us to openly talk about this can be done, but this cannot be done. And also I think it impacts the students. And I think the part of the reason we are doing this is actually for them to give the opportunity to have like a culture interactions. That actually, I don't know if the students are just, yeah.
Precisely, it's so you raised a very important issue, perhaps the most important issue that I sort of deal with as a project administrator. So indeed, we do have over the years many complaints from students who say my team member plagiarized his part, and I don't want to redo it, and I don't want to be punished for it. Very common occurrence. And now lately, my team member used ChatGPT to write his part, and I know it. Here is a screenshot. He told me, so do something about it. And so here I have a very important message for you, extremely important message for all of you professors. So the worst possible way you respond to this is this. You say, oh, this is unacceptable. You're such a good student. You come from such a good university. All those, and you name the country, they're so irresponsible. Let me talk to us. We need to ban those students from future participation. Very bad idea. The students will not like the project. The students will not like you, because we will not be able to resolve it, at least for them, right away. And so satisfaction goes down. The correct way to respond to it and the correct way to think about it is, wonderful, great. That's exactly what's going to happen in the future when you work in a team. And that's exactly what happens in business all the time. In your country, yes, copyright laws are very, very much, taken seriously. People can go to prison for stealing ideas. In some countries, they don't even have copyright laws yet. In some countries, it's perfectly fine to steal ideas. Just read the news. I mean, corporate espionage and, plagiarism happens all the time. And I'm so glad that you experience in this. Don't worry, you will not be punished. You'll get your grade. You're fine. So, but that's exactly what X culture is about. It's not about, a trip to Disneyland in a different country to see what their food looks like. It's to learn about the challenges of working with people from not only different cultures, but also different institutional environments. At our school, these are the standards, these are the expectations. In some other universities, the expectations, the standards, the culture is very different. And you experiencing these challenges, that's exactly what makes X culture valuable. It's not about writing a report. It's not about, writing it well. I mean, yeah, it kind of matters. It's the process. It's experiencing these problems. So every time you have a team member who doesn't show up for a meeting because it's late night for them, I kind of feel sorry for you, but I feel happy for you, because when you do business with people from that country, the time zones will still be there. Every time somebody in your team is too bossy or too shy or doesn't speak English well, or maybe, I don't know, has holidays right a day before the deadline, I kind of feel sorry for you, but I'm happy for you, because again, you will see it again and again and again when you do it as part of your job. And this plagiarism and this use of AI, oh, believe me, you will see it so much. Try doing business with people around the world. You will see that in some countries, that's exactly what happens. So I'm glad you've had that experience. I'm glad you will know what to expect when you do it the next time. So I kind of feel sorry for you, but no, go figure that out. And don't worry, even if you finish this project with enemies on 5 continents, you will still have learned, and I will be happy and I'll give you full grade. If you tell it them this way, they will say, oh, that's a great project. I'm learning. Yeah, now I know. So don't don't take pity on them. Say that that's the whole point. And yes, I don't think we can do anything about it. We can make students, sign dozens of contracts and promises and, things like that, provide all the training. Those cases will still happen. And it's bad that they will happen, but in a way it's good because, we deal with people. X culture is all about seeing what's in store for you in the future. Don't you think that you will get a team, my student, where everybody works well, everybody respects everyone, everybody never misses meetings, nobody ever cheats? You will see that again and again and again. So that's the whole point of X culture, to expose you to these challenges, so you know what to expect, so you try different ways to deal with it, so the next time you deal with it more effectively. So, but then again, I don't know, maybe we should implement some policies to reduce this. I mean, we are trying to do it already as is, but maybe we should do even more. So I don't know.
I agree for the fact that I think it's a really great opportunity, the X culture, and I do talk about that, and I focus on them figuring out and learning the different ways of communicating, dealing with conflicts, leading other people. But at the same time, I do see I've been joining X culture since 2020, and I do see some issues with less interactions because of students just not communicating as much, because if you have AI to work and copy and paste in there, some people actually don't really find the need to communicate as much. So it actually also impacts our purpose of doing this in a way. So I think it is still important for us to be like first communicating the ethical way of using AI, because if we just let them use it without some sort of guidance or policy, I think that's something that there might be some other big consequence, like negative outcomes that you might not encounter. So that's something that I wanted to say.
At the same time, Copilot in my Outlook already composes emails for me too. And so I'm sort of communicating less because of that. So again, are we trying to put people back in 2023 before AI? So difficult question. I don't know, if we should try to, difficult question. Antonius, I see you raise your hand, so maybe you can enlighten us and give us the solution to all these problems. So thank you so much, Sujina. I'm totally with you. So no easy way out. Yeah.
So I don't know if I have the solution. I think we're all struggling to figure this out. I just want to say that I fully agree with the approach of Astrid, and this is what I do in my classes as well. Using academic literature can be done in the very wrong way. And we also have rules about how to do it, proper citation conventions and so on. So I think we should also have appropriate conventions, let's say, for the use of AI. I asked in one of my classes, I have an international business plan, and I asked them a sort of disclaimer about how they used AI. I don't think it's a problem using AI. For example, in the competitive analysis, where students are searching for competitors in foreign markets, I find, why not use AI? I mean, of course, you have to teach them and tell them, and I do an exercise in class with soft drinks brands in the Greek market. And when I asked the question, Pepsi did not appear. And I tell the students, look at that, it missed one major competitor.
Yeah.
So they need to learn the pitfalls of that. And I think it's a very good idea, suggested also by other colleagues, that we should use the opportunity to teach them, to give them the skill of how to use AI in a more effective way and also in a responsible way. And we can also require standards. We can develop standards for reporting how they have used the AI. The other point, I want to say something which is maybe funny. I'm now working, as Vas knows, in the academy, where I'm working with teenagers.
Yeah.
And they go through a theoretical training, and they have to watch, the videos that Vas, you have uploaded there. And they're, some of them, the last one about SWOT and pastel analysis was 59 minutes. I told them in class, okay, let's watch it together and discuss. And said, what should we do it? When one of the students said, a 15-year-old, he says, well, you can go to AI and you can make a summary of the video.
Yeah.
This is what I watched. And I was shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids are so far ahead of us. So for me, trying to stop the use of AI is as okay, discussing how are we going to make the sun not rise tomorrow. So I think this is a way to go, and this is what is going to happen in the future. There's no stopping it. The other point I want to make about Turnitin, yes, they're not able to catch it now, but I think at some point they're going to try. They're going to catch up. I think it's better having Turnitin than not having it at all. Even the indication, which is not 100% accurate, that something is going on with the paper, triggers you to look further, to investigate. And sometimes we have experience. Today I was reading a paper, an international business plan, and I read an economic analysis, which I thought I didn't have any remark to say. This was as if it's taken from a professional report. And I did not make any comments. I just wrote a note to the student that this does not seem to me, as I don't recognize student writing in this. And yeah, what are you doing? And well, I confronted the student a lot directly. But I mean, having the indication from Turnitin that something is going on is helpful. It's better than nothing. And I don't know if you want to give, I have one idea about the use of Turnitin. I don't know if it's going to solve it, but I mean, in my class, I have the right to take projects through Turnitin. So the 15 projects, I have few that I had in the previous semester, I could upload them on Turnitin myself. So instructors, I suppose in universities that have license, they can do the same. So essentially, yeah, of course, we have 1,300 teams every semester. So if there are, I don't know, 15, 20 professors that have licenses to upload materials, that can be one of the solutions. And final point, and I will stop. I think it's great that we're meeting. And I think for free writing, I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it because we're going to take hours. But I think let's have this discussion about free writing. Let's share perspectives and let's talk. And I know you have a lot of experience, Vas. You've tried a lot. And that helps us also understand what you're doing. But maybe we can talk about it in a separate meeting.
On free writing, we can have a separate meeting, but I'll give you 30 seconds of statistics. So one, it's not big. So if you look at peer evaluations and other indicators, it's actually a very, very small percentage. We hear a lot about it because if everything's going fine, students have no reason to, like student wouldn't come to you and say, everything's good in my team, everyone participates. But if somebody doesn't participate, that's when they come to you. So that's why you hear so much about it. Second, we have drastically reduced free writing from the times when we didn't do much about it. So I'm not sure if it can be fully eradicated, but we definitely cut it, by a big margin. And lastly, the way I deal with free writing with my students, again, the biggest mistake you can do is say something like, oh, you poor soul, you deserve better team members. You need someone who is as hardworking as you are. Let me talk to us. We're going to punish that free writer. We're going to kick them out. So no, that's a bad idea. So the good way to respond to that is to say, life. People are lazy. You will always have someone who doesn't do their work. Have you worked in teams before? Did you have anyone who didn't participate? Here you go. That's, happened before, will happen again. Try to deal with that, regroup as a team. That's part of the learning experience. And then obviously what students should do, on the one hand, keep telling the free writer that they need to do the work, but also give the free writer low peer evaluations. Once I see that peer evaluations drop, we send a warning to the free writer, we send a coach to investigate, and if the situation does not improve in 2 weeks, we kick that person from the team. So we do have a mechanism to deal with that. So it's important, again, to highlight to the student that it's part of working with people. And by people, I mean people, humans in general, not ex-culture students, not, some specific students, people. People sometimes are lazy. Sometimes people are stressed at work or at school or broke up with boyfriend, girlfriend and cannot focus on the task or have other priorities. Happens all the time. And so it's nothing unique. It's unpleasant. But again, ex-culture is here not to, give you a nice, pleasant trip to a new country, but rather show you what a challenging task it is to work with people from different countries. So, but we'll have a separate meeting on that.
I think it's worth discussing, but Vas, what I have at macro level, I do agree with you that this is probably the picture that you see. At the micro level, at the class level, I have a lot of difficulty justifying to some students within a class that have a dramatically different experience than others. And that is a problem,
Luck matters, yeah.
You can say this is authentic assessment, but on the other hand, to have at the same time in your class a student that suffers and is not given essentially the same opportunity as others, that is an issue. And as a professor, I cannot find a proper justification for that. But I think it's worth discussing. It's not easy. And I want to say, I don't mean it as a criticism, because I'm also fully in favor of ex-culture. I'm very, very impressed. I've said it before. I mean, this is fantastic work, and we can talk with each other to make it better. And I think that talking with other instructors, that's a very good idea. So I will stop here so that others.
Luck matters, and some teams are better than others, obviously. Yes. So, but then again, yeah. I see Astrid raised her hand again, and I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking about some of the comments, what Antonis just said, but also the lack of interaction. And I'm thinking about, I'm ahead of a case competition, and what we do for our teams is the teams have to come together and kind of establish team norms in the team charter. And I wonder if we think that we're going to go in and, kind of have ethical training for ChatGPT, do we do a team charter where, like, for our case competitions, you have to define, how are we defining quality? How do we agree to meet, and what do we expect these meetings to be? How do we agree to communicate and expectations for responsiveness? And how do we come to conclusions for the plan ahead? It could also be, how do we agree to use or not use ChatGPT? But I wonder if this is an additional document at the front end that teams have to do, because one of the things I heard a lot this past semester is we should have Zoomed as a group earlier. And so if they have to do this earlier, then maybe it creates greater connections, so that it offsets maybe some of the impact ChatGPT would have for decreased interactions. But I think that would be really interesting to see kind of how they respond to those things. So just a thought.
Yes, so Astrid, I'm laughing. We've had a series of experiments and now published studies on team charter. So somebody came along, a professor experienced one, and said we need to have a team charter, team contract. And we've had that for a few semesters. And then we decided to do a study and see if it improves things. And we sliced and diced data every way, and it actually makes things worse. And so we meet again and like, no, maybe we didn't train them how to write a team charter. Let's do training. So invest a lot of time. We train them how to do it. We run the analysis worse. And so we actually published a paper in the MLE, Academy of Management, Learning and Education, eventually, where we discussed all those things. It makes things worse. Once you have it on paper, the team becomes less flexible. Somebody misses a meeting without the team contract, everybody says, well, it's live. Somebody misses a meeting with a team contract, and the whole hell breaks loose, and the team like, oh, we had a contract, he didn't show up, I hate this project, and satisfaction goes down, participation goes down. And so we tried like 4 or 5 times, we thought, okay, maybe we should show them how to do the team charter, or maybe we should give them a template, or maybe we should allow, like specifically, like last time we did it, we specifically said, make sure that you stay flexible. It's only a charter, so it's not like a contract signed in blood, be flexible. Nothing helped. And so in the end, in the face of overwhelming empirical evidence, we saw that it not only doesn't work, it actually makes counterintuitively, like I still don't believe it. If I haven't tested the data myself, I would have never believed it. But so it's not as effective as I thought it would be. So yeah. One more thing that again, it's not me trying to defend something. I'm just showing you so that you guys know. So you see this histogram? So that's the last week's early track peer evaluations effort. So as you can see, what looks like 80% probably are above okay. And then, like this is very bad, okay, good, very good. And so a very small percentage in reality of students are below, sort of around bad and below bad. Most students do very well. It is obviously, we hear from from students who have team members in this little tail. So obviously that's, but overall the picture is not that bad, and it's a very typical, it's basically what we see every single week. So what I mean is that free writing is a problem. It's probably the most disappointing thing that happens, but the truth is it's not as widespread as we think it is based on the students' complaints. And at the same time, can we really eliminate it? We improved this chart a lot since the beginning of the project, when we didn't have weekly peer evaluations, when we didn't have the threat of exclusion, so when we didn't have all those things that we do have now. But I'm not sure how much we can minimize, how much more we can reduce this little tail, around 2 and 1. So, but in reality, as I said, we just hear more from the students who suffer because of free riders. And yes, some of them may be in a bad team where there are maybe even 2 or even 3, who knows? I mean, statistically speaking, it can happen. So I'm not sure what we need to do in that case. Maybe we should have a separate meeting to discuss what the policy should be. But overall, most students do well.
Just Vas, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
I mean, here's the deal. I don't care what policies universities put in place and whatever, regulation you put it there. The problem with the way generative AI is designed and it's improving, students will find a way. And as I wrote in my paper, more than 70% of students are using it. However, only a small percentage of faculty even know about it. So we are talking training for students. In fact, we need the training for faculty as well. There are a few things in generative AI. For instance, when a student will write me a paper using generative AI, I can tell just from the verb they are using whether the paper has been used in with generative AI, the style of writing, etc. But now I want to go to some of the solution you can use. I use it in my class, I mentioned it earlier, which is a presentation. In fact, I teach an online course where I use simulation. It's a capstone class. Students work in a team online. However, we have the peer evaluation as you do in X-Culture, but at the same time, I have each group do actually a Zoom presentation. Sometimes I ask them to send me an invitation when they are recording it, so I can join them for a few minutes and ask questions. However, the good news, ChatGPT has an interview feature. All you have to do is just go to ChatGPT, program it to ask certain questions to students. So I know some of you in X-Culture have a lot of groups, and it might be overwhelming for you to attend every presentation. What you can do is actually have ChatGPT do, for example, the question for students. So there will be an interaction between students and ChatGPT. And you can even program ChatGPT to do the question according to interview standards. And this way, here's what's going to happen. Students will have no escape. They will have to be prepared to answer those questions. To use ChatGPT for that, I have no problem. As long as the student is articulate,
Yeah.
Honestly, it has believe me, Vas, it has so much benefit. I mean, honestly, penalizing technology just to keep the statical, I don't think it's a smart idea. Technology is here, and we have to embrace it, and we have to be smart about it. And just I will finish with a funny story. The first times I want to show my student that you cannot just blindly use ChatGPT, I have this presentation about economic models in my class. And then I told them I intentionally changed the name of one heading. I changed it from the standard name that is online. And to see when I ask the question to my students, how many of them they're going to use what I say in class and on my slide, and how many of them they will just blindly go and copy and paste what they find on ChatGPT. So then I told them, hey, the class is going to be in person, but at the last minute I changed my mind. I said, you know what, guys, let's do it online. But guys, please don't use ChatGPT, don't do this. I just see how much of them are going to be honest. Out of all my students, only one of them wrote exactly what I put in my slide and what I say in class compared to those who went to ChatGPT. So, you know, and some of them were very smart. They totally, rephrase that content from ChatGPT. Okay, but then I asked them, I said, tell me the truth. I'm not going to penalize you. I'm not going to give you F. Just tell me the truth. I say, you use ChatGPT, you use ChatGPT. So they admitted all that they use ChatGPT. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know, once again, it's going to continue happening. But I think for X culture, by the way, VAS having a database of video presentations, it's good public speaking for students. It's going to add another dimension of X culture that is amazing, by the way. You can even give a reward for the best presentation. You can call it executive briefing. And the group that, for example, during your annual meetings, don't give just, in my point of view, in addition to the award you give to the best group, you might want to add an award for the best group presentation. And this will push students to be very creative on their presentation. And you can use ChatGPT to lead the interview for you, because I'm sure faculty don't have the time to moderate every single presentation and stuff like that. Or you can even have every group have one student from a different university being the moderator for the interview, and then create some other awards for that or whatever. This will add a really beautiful dimension to X culture. And then it will add that public speaking skills, which is the big things in business in general.
Well, I just wish we didn't have 1,000 teams each semester, so we could have each team presenting. So with this many, even if we give them like 10 minutes to present, it will take us 3 days nonstop of presenting. But it would be nice if I just hope that more professors ask students to present in their class if they have fewer students. So one thing before I see many people started jumping off. So I'm not sure if we have to have a vote, but I just would like to, see if you have any reservations. So here is what I think we should do this semester and future semesters moving forward. Let me know if that's a good solution. So one, it seems like everyone agrees that it would be a good idea to provide training on both plagiarism, but also use of generative AI, with the focus on how to do it right, how to do it effectively, how to do it ethically, responsibly, so that the students are not only prepared and know how to use it, but also know how not to use it, or what are the pitfalls, what are the unethical behaviors, and perhaps, what you need to watch out for as you use those tools. And then also in terms of submissions, I think I will change or switch to submitting via Dropbox, so we don't have problems, so we don't turn it in. But after the files are submitted, I will then upload them to myself from my account to turn it in and still check it for plagiarism the old way. It also gives me the probability of the chance that they used generative AI. I'll have that statistics as well. So I'll still have that statistics and send it to you in case you need it. but the submission will be not through AI, I mean, not through Turnitin, but through a Dropbox, which means that students will not be able to check their file before submitting for plagiarism as they could do before. But that's something I don't think we can do. So is that a viable solution, okay, to all of you? So any reservations or suggestions?
Would the students be able to get the similarity rate when they requested? Because I actually told them that they are going to get the
That's a good question. That's a good
numbers.
question. So I think I'll need to see. So for the early track, as I said, my account is still operational, and I suppose we can keep using it, keep running it. My worry is that, as I said, Turnitin is not happy to see accounts used by students from different schools. And so I'm not sure on the one hand if they will not ban me if we keep using it, but also should we keep doing it that way and then risk being banned? So I'm not sure if it would be possible, technically possible. I mean, even if it works this semester, it may not work next.
That's I mean, one way to circumvent that would be to grant everyone an xculture.org email.
No, I didn't share one more development 3 months ago when our class ID was stolen and sold on YouTube. I believe I had a whole video about that if you saw. So one morning I wake up and I have like 200 emails in my email account saying that, Professor, could you please delete my file from your course? I'm like, who are you? Why are you asking me? I mean, occasionally I have that from our students when the team submits the file twice, like to different team members, but it doesn't look like that. And it's like literally a couple hundred. So I reach out to them back saying to a few of them asking, so who are you? Why are you contacting me? And they say, oh, I just found your class ID and password on YouTube. And I just wanted to check my file for plagiarism before I submit it to my professor. And so I did, but then the file is in your course. So when I submitted it to my professor, it showed that it's plagiarized 100% from your course. Please delete. And then around that time, I get not only emails, I start getting phone calls, WhatsApp calls. So, and then it gets so bad. And so I actually pick up a few of those calls and they're like, for example, one story. I'm a student from Somalia studying in the Netherlands. My family basically, mortgaged my house, their house to send me to study. I did plagiarize. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to see if the system will catch it. So now I submit it to my professor and it says that you plagiarized off basically my student. That's how the system works. Please, please, please delete my file because they will kick me out of the university. And I show them, I literally went to Turnitin's website and it shows you cannot delete, like you can delete the file, but it will not be removed from the depository. Like there is absolutely nothing I can do. I even deleted that course because I had like 2,000 submissions, literally about 2,000 submissions, and like 200 students contacted me. Then they start calling me, I just start blocking them. And so, and then I asked, so where did you find it? And so it's a YouTube channel where they have like 300 videos or 200 videos where it shows digit by digit my class ID and my password like every 5 seconds. So to get that course ID, you need to watch the whole video. So I think they make money by, just increasing the views. But literally thousands of people use it. At least in my case, it was about 2,000 submissions before I deleted the course. And so, and I think that's what Turnitin is after. So they just, people apparently sell it. I don't know. But I'm worried that if I give my password, I mean, imagine we will have, thousands of, logins from different countries at the same time, not to mention that who knows what they can mess up, delete a course, delete somebody's work. So I would definitely prefer to stay away from that because, who knows what other problems can surface. I may try to, allow them to submit the draft using, again, Dropbox, then I upload it, and then I make those reports available. But then again, it may take too much work to, to like literally too much time to make it work, because I don't think there will be an easy way to sort of download those reports in bulk and make them all available at once.
That's not only is that labor intensive, but it wouldn't resolve the issue of the document already being uploaded previously
and that's
to another class.
Yes, so the way we did it with the draft and the final report, you can specify it as basically, you know, like same team, two different versions. And as long as it's the same student who submits it, it works fine. In some teams, it would be one team member who submits the draft and the other team member who submits the final, and then it, you know, flags it as plagiarized, and then I manually unclick it, so I have a way to correct it. Again, takes me like a couple of hours each time. So, but yeah. So, but I'll think about that, because I do see a lot of value. I agree. There is value in students being able to pre-check their work, and if there is a problem, fix it. And so I'm just not sure if we will have the technical means to do it, unless maybe your university can provide some sort of a solution and you can help here. So I'm not entirely sure if I will be able to do it, no matter what the time requirements. I'm just not sure if it would be technically possible. So.
Are you going to be
I
able
ha-
to continue to do this for the early track?
Well, so the early track is the biggest problem, because it's now a couple of weeks from the, you know, from the finish line, and they already have the instructions, and whatever we change, I'll need to explain that, you know, due to the change in policy, I turn it in. So that's what I'm dreading. So I don't want to go through those changes, because I'll get like 1,000 emails with questions. For the late track, I think I can still change the instructions, and then for the future tracks, we'll just use the new instructions altogether. Though even for the late track, we have already like 2,000 students who have completed the training, the readiness test. And in the training, it said that it would be turned in, and here is your password and everything. So even there will be some confusion, but you know.
I have a bold suggestion. Could we add to some teams a ChatGPT or another generative AI bot, and so the students could ask whatever they want to generate to that bot and see if they perform better than if they use their own means.
Well, we have a study going on right now where we tested if professors can provide better feedback than AI. So you may remember last
I
semester.
already know the answer to that.
Yeah, well, the answer is AI is as good as professors in terms of quality, more deep, does not miss the deadline as many professors unfortunately do. But the interesting finding of that study is this: if students don't know that it's AI, the satisfaction level with feedback is even higher than when they receive feedback from professors. But when they know, when we told them that it's from AI, they hated it. And the most confusing part is that the quality of the reports, when students receive feedback from AI or from professors, so professors and AI, they don't know it, the quality actually improves. But when they receive equally good feedback from AI and they know it was AI, the quality actually goes down. And so now we don't know what's ethical here, because technically we can keep sending them feedback every week from AI, which is cheap to produce. And as long as we don't tell them, they will be happier and they will do a better job. But is it ethical not to tell them that it's from AI, or should we just teach them how to get because it's useful, it does improve the quality, as long as they don't know it. So, but what I mean is that AI is better than professors. I mean, obviously it can be better than students, as long as you know how to write the prompts correctly. Anyway, so difficult issues. So maybe let's stop here. So as I said, we will then, so if any of you are able to help with the development of training, so maybe it's still not too late for at least for the late track this semester. So how to use it again with the focus on responsibility, ethics, so that, you know, students not only know how to use it mechanically, but also know what's right and what's wrong, so to speak. And then I think we will go then to submissions via Dropbox, but still checking for plagiarism, very much checking for plagiarism, and giving you professors the statistics. I'll just need to see if I can also give the students the statistics beforehand, so that they could maybe, you know, if there is a problem, they could still fix it. So we'll see if that would be technically possible. I'll need to do some research and see if I can do it. All right. Then yes, if any other comments, I see we have a lot of comments, and I think I read most of them, but if not, I'll reread them. And if anything else, just send me an email. And Antonius, yes, maybe we should have a separate meeting on pre-writing among the professors, again, how to deal with that. Thank you everyone for your comments, and yes. Bye-bye. Have a nice rest of your weekend.
Thank you for organizing this. Bye-bye.
Thank you for participating.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.